Okay, I've got to test and see if this will work, because sometimes, I don't know why, you set up the stream, but it uses a different stream to the one to the one that you've set up as going live, and I think that's what it's going to do here as well. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, right, so this is live somewhere, but I don't know that it's going to use the same link that it said it should be using, but fingers crossed it will work as planned. And yeah, we should. It's going. Yes, okay, it's working. So I've just had a look on YouTube. So at least the YouTube one is working. Not sure about the Facebook one. It can be a little bit weird with those algorithms. So let us get started. Let us get started. So as it says on the tin, this is the on-demand course sale live stream. And I've got some slides to just keep it moving, keep it in order, etc. And it's my very first ever live stream sale. So I'll give you a little bit of the rationale behind that as we go through. But just want to say, first of all, thank you so much for joining me, whether you're here live, which I hope you are, because you're going to get a much better deal. And I cannot, for some reason, don't ask me why, I'm not able to stream live into LinkedIn. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to download this after it's finished, upload it into LinkedIn. So you'll have 24 hours from the time, for those of you on LinkedIn, you'll have 24 hours to respond, because of course you're not here to respond live, but of course the first of the deals will be gone. You'll see what I mean when I explain it. Now, my other why, well, my big why for this, and this is an image that I created several years ago. This was when I was putting together my all access pass. At that point, there were about 55 of my videos, webinars, courses, etc. So people could pay one price and have access to everything. And that was just a one-off deal. Pay once, use them forever. So some of those courses are going to be drawn from that. But I've always been a lot annoyed about what I call shrinkflation. And I think many people have noticed it in today's world, where oftentimes you're paying the same, but most of the time you're paying more. But what you're getting, let's say in your basket, is actually a lot less. So I tend to be at the other end of the scale, where I'm going to keep it as wallet friendly as I possibly can and still offer you good value. So that's one of the reasons. The other reason for doing this is I got this idea. Some of you might know Naomi Tamayama from Mad Dog Designs. Naomi does these crystal lives because she sells crystals. So she does these live, she has raffle tickets, and she'll say, right, number 97 is, jade, and number 98 is amethyst. And then she'll hold the crystals up and tell you a little bit about it and then go from there. And I absolutely love them. I really enjoy them. I have purchased things from there as well. The latest box, thank you, Naomi, has arrived from your last live stream. And I thought, I wonder if it will work for courses. So here we are. I'm going to try it for courses and let's see what happens. And if you're not following Naomi's page, Mad Dog Design, that's MADDOGG, Snoop Dogg would be proud. But if you're not following Mad Dog Designs, please go and follow their Facebook page. They have wonderful little lovely quotes, etc., pieces about crystals, as you would expect. And she's also got a couple of workshops coming up. I think one of them is on my birthday, the 17th of May. So yes, check out Mad Dog Designs. And Naomi, thank you for the inspiration. So in terms of the live stream, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a very quick overview of how it all works, and then we're just going to kind of dive into what we're doing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to name the course. I'm going to give you a very short overview. Some of them, it's like it is what it says on the tin. It'll be obvious. Then I'm going to show you the usual price, and then we're going to have the price for this live stream. And what you can do, you either can add the name of the course or the number of the course for one you want to purchase. And you can either do that in the comments, either on Facebook, and if it's streaming live to YouTube, if it's streaming live to Facebook, or you can send me a DM and tell me the course that you want, and I'll allocate them in terms of date and timestamp, just to be make sure I'm fair about it. So that's the way it's going to work. So and all of these, so that I don't have to keep saying it over and over again, everything that I'm talking about is their video webinars and their on-demand access. So that means once I've set up your access, you can access it whenever you want, whenever you like, and they're either 1 day or half day. So I've specified the length, but I'm not going to keep saying on-demand video webinar, on-demand video webinar. So I'm just saying it once here. You also, for these, get lifetime access. Again, bucking the trend of shrinkflation, because I know a lot of the times you can purchase a workshop and you'll get maybe 3 months or 6 months or 12 months access, and then it's yanked away and you have to resubscribe. That's not what I'm doing here. You get lifetime access, which means you pay once and then you can access it and learn and go deeper into the processes and transform at a place and a space and a time that suits you. So that's the way it's set up. This is an example. So this is what they're going to look like. So course number 1, fearless public speaking. I don't think I need to really explain what that one's about. It's a 1-day workshop. The usual price, and this is dollars, usual price is 257. So for you, those of you in the UK, the number will be less. You can, 57, I think is about £47. So usual price 257, sale price for the first, so there's going to be 2 prices. For the first person, it's 57. For the second person, it will be the second price. So in this example, $88. Now, if you are thinking, as many people do, online, this is not that. My online workshops are dynamic, energizing, insightful, transformational, always have been. So this is from a workshop that I ran in 2018, and it says world first because it was. Photo reading has been around since 1985. That's quite a long time. It had never been run as a live video webinar. And this was well before the pivot, pandemic, all of that sort of stuff. So I went to the Learning Strategies Corporation. I said, hey, I've got this idea, because at that point I started running live webinars because the tech was finally catching up to what I wanted to do, because I started running teleseminars in 2005. That's like you pick up the phone. So I went to them and said, can I do this? They're like, oh, I'm not really sure. Don't think it will work. I said, hey, look, let me do it. I said, if it doesn't work, I'll never do it again, or I'll make some refinements, and I'll refund everyone. No harm, no foul. So I did it. This was some of the feedback. First person says, good flexibility of participating from my chosen location, especially as the days have been full, combination of comprehensive, intense and fun delivery. This is a 3-day 21-hour workshop, and we ran it Friday, Saturday, Sunday, bang bang bang, just like I do the real thing in person. Someone else says, wow, this is a simple yet incredibly powerful and liberating skill to have, that transforms and skyrockets the ability to absorb and recall information when needed. At the end of that 3 days, and they're long days, as I said, 21-hour course, people were buzzing. They were excited. They didn't want to leave the webinar room. And now, because I coached on Dr. Paul Sheely created photo reading, I coached on Paul's global class last year. It's all being done in Zoom. So these are dynamics. So don't be mistaken that this is your usual old, boring online courses. And this is from someone who actually had attended, this is something called Practitioner Insider Secrets. They had attended my in-person Practitioner Insider Secrets a couple of years before, and then I ran it again online, and they came and they said they weren't really expecting that much. And they said, what an amazing workshop. Thank you so much for your time and energy. Because one of the things they said, again, they said they felt energized by the end of it, and they could feel and they felt as though, that's why I've chosen the image with the people around the world. They said they felt as though they were in the room with everyone, and they had that sense of rapport and banter and camaraderie. So this is not your common old garden workshops. Let's just get that one clear. And as I said, I've been running online teleseminars since 2005. So that's 21 years at this point. So it's tried and tested for the online experience. I also teach accelerated learning, which is how to impart information, how to impart the data, how to make the complex straightforward and simple enough that you just absorb it and do it in a way that brings the information to life. So that's also what I bring to the online courses that I design as well. So I just wanted to be clear. So if you are ready for a fast and furious ride, let's go. Let's dive into it. So you've already had the preview of this one. So course number 1, you can either say number 1 or fearless public speaking. So course number 1 is a 1-day workshop. Usual price 257, Sale price for the first person 57, second person 88. And I'm going to share with you some testimonials at the end just so you get a flavor of what you can expect as a result of this. But one of the people who took this online, I remember distinctly because it was January 2020, that ominous year, and my friend and I were on holiday. We were in Gran Canaria and I was by the swimming pool, and I got a message from Rachel. I'll say her name because she's given a public testimonial. You'll see it later. And she said, I've just spent the day with you. So I lower my sunglasses and I'm like, I don't know why I did that because they're seeing glasses, but you know the thing where you just go, and it's like, Marilyn, you'll see better if you just keep them on. So I'm looking around the pool and I'm like, have Rachel and her family turned up at the same resort? And then so I carry on reading the message and she says, no, I've just done your fearless public speaking workshop because she had a big talk coming up, blew the doors off the place. So I will share her testimonial. And I wasn't there. I was on holiday by the pool and Rachel was taking herself through this workshop. And if you know Rachel now, she runs workshops, she does live, she's now got a Telegram group, doing all the things. And so that's the Fearless Public Speaking Workshop. So first person, $57, second person, $88. And of course, outside of this, if you're watching this as a replay a couple of days from now, then you can always pick it up at $257, which I think is still a great price. So that's number one, Fearless Public Speaking. Number two is the Huna and Ho'oponopono experiential. And I've called it the experiential because I'm not just talking about Huna, I'm taking you through the processes as we do them. So the higher self therapy, the actual, what I call the bells and whistles, Ho'oponopono process with the stage and the Avaiku and the Arca connections. We're doing the Huna energy clearing. So we're doing all of that stuff. So the usual price is $307, first person 37, second person 77. And again, this is a 1-day workshop. I absolutely love Huna. And those of you who have been around a little while, you will know that you can listen to a Huna recording years later and it still works. And the first time this happened to me, I got an email from someone and they're saying, oh, thank you so much for that process. It was really amazing. I listened to it. I could feel the energy. And I'm thinking, I haven't done anything lately. So I emailed them back and I said, I'm really delighted that you've enjoyed it. I said, what exactly were you listening to? So they tell me what they were listening to. And I'd recorded it years before as an MP3 recording when I was doing the old style teleseminars. So they were listening to that recording years later and having the same experiences and the energy shifts and the changes and the transformations as people who were there live. Now, I already knew that because I wouldn't do it online otherwise, but it was really just so interesting to have that fed back years later and someone is talking as though they're almost right there with me. So that's the Huna. And some of you may know part of Ho'oponopono. There's what I call the social media version, and then there's the full-on version. So the social media version, I'm sorry, I love you, please forgive me, thank you. That's lovely. The version that we're doing in the workshop is we're working with the Huna guides. You're bringing them out onto the stage. We're using what you call the Huna guides and the energy. We're cutting the old Arca connections. We're cleaning those up. We're using the symbols to change and transform the things that you want to shift and change. So I call it the full-on bells and whistles version. It is so cool. And Ho'oponopono is one page in the book of Huna. I have got the folder up there behind me. I could show you the folder. Ho'oponopono is one page in the book of Huna. Of course, we're doing other things around that, the higher self therapy, principles of magic, and all sorts of it's amazing. It's a fantastic workshop. So that's number two. Number three is the Raising Your Money Vibration. So this is a 10-part series. So, oh God, I haven't added up the hours, but we were probably together an hour and a half, 2 hours for each one. So I'm going to guess that there's about 10, 12, 15 hours worth, but we're doing things in stages. So the usual price is $597. For the first person, it's $57. For the second person, it's $97. And again, amazing. And we're going through because... Which came first? Yeah. So the course came first. There's a 1-day video. I haven't included the 1 day in this sale, but there's a 1-day money breakthrough workshop. And then after that, I created a deck of money breakthrough cards, like sort of, hi, Cherise. Thank you for joining me and popping in. Very much appreciated. So what I did is then I created a deck of cards around that. And so this then mimics the stages that we go through with regards to the cards. So that's number 3. Number 4 is the chakra balance and energy healing. So it's a 7-part series because, surprise, surprise, we're going through each of the chakras with each of these trainings. So, and actually, oh, this is, you know what, while I think of it, because Naomi is the one who's inspired this with the crystals. One of the things, Naomi, if you happen to be watching this, remind me, because one of the things that Naomi is starting to do is, I don't want to put words in her mouth. I'm just going to describe it almost like a crystal diagnostic, where tell Naomi what the issue or challenge is, and then she'll recommend a crystal. So with regards to those of you who are into crystals, we do actually cover crystals as part of this, because with each of the chakras, we're talking about which crystals will be good for that. So if you're not yet into crystals, but you're going to be, speak to Naomi Tamayama and check her out first, particularly if you're in the UK. Naomi, I don't know if you ship internationally. You'll have to answer that question. But yeah, a lovely series. So usual price is $399, first person $39, second person $69. Let's move it along. Number 4. Oh yeah, core issue therapy breakthrough day. I love core issue therapy. Now you might not have heard of it. Core issue therapy is one of the offshoots from the soul plan, the realm of work of the soul plan. So with the core issue therapy, we use the soul plan cards, which you don't actually see me. Are they in my? They're normally. I don't know if this. They might be in my other. No, I think they're out in the other cupboard. But you don't see me use the soul plan cards very often. Yeah, they're in. I've got a bureau outside. But we use the soul plan cards to do the diagnostic, to choose the interventions, and we go through a number of different things throughout the day. One of my, anyway, I won't spoil it for you, but there are some very cool processes in there. So, and again, this is designed as a standalone. So you don't have to have had your soul plan reading done or anything like that, because I teach you what the core principles are. And then as a group, we're going through and we, doing the diagnostic. It's just amazing. So $497 usual price, $47 for the first person to book, $77 for the second one. Alrighty, let's keep it moving. We've now banish procrastination. This one is a no-brainer price, because procrastination by its very nature, people are hanging about on the fence. So get your finger out and just get it sorted. I'm joking. I know it's more complex than that. And we go into some of those complexities in the banish procrastination workshop. It's a 1-day workshop. We start with some of the theory around procrastination, some of the underlying things that can feed into it, because it's not just as simple as get your finger out. I was being tongue-in-cheek and joking. So we go into the almost like the psychology of procrastination. What are the things that it feeds into, feeds off of? And then what can you do to change that and resolve that and use strategies to move you beyond it? So usual price is $250, first person $25, second person $57. And my suggestion with this one is, as soon as you get it, my suggestion is press play. And even if you're not sitting down to concentrate on it, just have it playing in the background by what I call osmosis. And then when you're ready, decide the chunks of time that you're going to do if you're not going to do it as a complete 1 day, and then commit to doing that time. I'd say that's the easiest way to get it done and get it started. By osmosis in the background, just have it playing. And one of the things that I would also suggest that you do, and you can do this for all of the trainings, I've definitely suggested it for the photo reading, because that's 3 days, it's 21 hours, it's quite a big chunk of information. I say have it playing in the background, but set your purpose and intention to hear whatever you need to hear, and to take in the information the way that you need to take it in, such that when you actually come to learn consciously and learn the material and implement it, it's already there and the strategies are starting to form already. And I definitely say that with the procrastination one, given the subject matter. Number 7, for those of you who are Strictly Come Dancing fans, you will know what I mean. A little nod to the late Len Goodman. So unlock your genius code. This is a half-day workshop. And this one takes elements. It was originally created by Learning Strategies Corporation. So I bought the license so I could teach that material. And it does what it says on the tin. It's about how to tap into your genius code, your genius potential. So what does that actually mean? What are the components of that? How do you activate those? And I'm going to say this is a really lovely, it's a standalone. These are all standalone. And it's a lovely pairing and accompaniment for the photo reading workshop. Because of course, when I talk about photo reading, I often say to people, have you seen the movie Limitless with Bradley Cooper? Most people say yes, but even if they haven't, they kind of heard of it. Bradley Cooper, Robert De Niro. So when you get a chance, watch that film. Because years ago, when I ran the photo reading workshop, so this is probably coming up to about 10 years ago, because I've been a photo reading instructor since March 2002, I had a doctor and a trainee neurosurgeon come on the workshop. So he comes up to me because we do Friday evening and all day Saturday, all day Sunday. And he comes up on the Friday and he says, have you seen the movie Limitless? I said, no, why? I've heard of it, haven't watched it. He said, oh, you really need to watch it. I said, okay. And he said, because everything you're teaching in this class is in the movie. The only thing you're not doing is time shifting. I was like, okay, cool. He comes up on the Sunday afternoon. He says, I take that back. I said, what's that, Dr. Cos? He says, you are time shifting. I can't believe how much we've covered, how much people have learned, and how much we've all changed in just 2.5 days. So on the Monday, because we finished on the Sunday, I went out and I found the DVD of Limitless. I got partway through, I pressed pause, I pick up the phone, it's like, Dr. Cos, we need to talk. It's just amazing. But that is all about how to tap into your genius potential. And I've always said, since I've been a photo reading instructor, it's not because people talk about 10% of the brain. I'm like, no, I don't believe that's true, actually. Our brain is firing off in all sorts of ways. So for me, it's not so much about, I'm just looking for where was I? Oh, I think I was in the other room. Yeah, I think I've packed it already, but I usually have my little brain sitting here, the squishy one. But it's not so much about 10% of the brain. For me, I always said the brain is firing off. It's about the depth that we're using. And Dr. Cos said exactly the same. So this is almost like the beginning part of starting to tap into that sort of that limitless potential, starting to figure out what is your genius code, because when you have that information, you can turn the key and you can utilize it. So usual price 97, it's 27 for the first person, 47 for the second person. Number 8, we're almost there because I've chosen 10, and then we're going to have a wild card where you are going to choose or give me some suggestions. So we've got the happiness generator. And this is based on a workshop originally created by Marcy Scheim of Happy for No Reason. So this goes into the components of happiness. What does it actually mean to be happy? And how can you bring more of that into your life? And what are simple yet powerful things that you can do to make it a part of your daily life and work those in? So happiness isn't something that I'll be happy when. It becomes more of your natural state of being. So this is a half-day workshop. Usual price is 97. So first person 27, and second person 47. But it's a really fun, practical workshop. And the outcome, it does what it says on the tin. It is a happiness generator. All right, number 9. This is one of my favorites, the Magic and Gratitude Workshop. So in November 2013, because I've been using a version of this since I was about 12. And I've been using those principles much more consciously and much more focused since October 2000. And I don't know why it took me so long, but in November 2013, I created a Magic and Gratitude group, and it ran for several years. And I had somebody who joined because it was 28-day e-coaching program. So every day for 28 days, people would receive an email. And I had somebody who joined the program, and they said they were literally dragging themselves out of bed in the mornings. Within a couple of days, they were getting out of bed with a spring in their step. Within 7 days, they were feeling much more like themselves. Within 2 weeks, they started to start thinking about their future, their work, what they wanted to do. Within a month, they had come up with an idea for a business that they wanted to start. Within 3 months, they met by, I'm going to call it that wonderful synchronicity. They met someone who could help them start that business, actually partnered with them. Within 6 months, it was launched. Within a year, they're so busy that even I had to go on the waiting list when I wanted to do a session for them. It was insanely crazy, cool, powerful stuff. And that particular person said, Marilyn, this stuff should be taught in schools. So what I did is I took that 28-day e-coaching program, and then I put all of those processes together so that you could then do them in a day and then go forth and implement them. So the usual price for this one is $297. First person price 57, second person price 97. But Magic and Gratitude, and some of you I did a few years ago, I did a 5-day free taster for so part of the Magic and Gratitude program. And there was someone who did that, and they were in a dilemma. They wanted to raise some money for someone, so they're looking at their magic practices on their phone, and they're on the bus on the way to work, and they do this first practice was about, you know, getting what you want. Da, 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 da. By the end of the day, they had raised the first 1,000, and then again by this magical synchronicity, a journalist picked up that story, and by the end of the day it was on the national news. It was just insane. So they sent me a message saying, Marilyn, the magic is working, and then they relay this whole story because they were raising money for a homeless woman. It was just so crazy. It's probably when it pops up on my memories on Facebook next time, I'll reshare it. But it's so cool, the things that were happening for people, not just for the people taking part, because one of the processes is about sprinkling magic dust on others. The things that happened when people did that for other people, oh my God, absolutely insanely beautiful. So that's one of they're all my favorites, but this is one of my favorites. It's a really, really nice workshop. Right. And then we have number 10, and there's one of these, there's definitely only two of these, but the first one of these, the 3-day photo reading workshop. So if you want to go and purchase it after this live, that's fine. It's $1,105, and that's the price you'll find, and that's the price it's been for years. Sale price for the first person is $205, and then the second person is $397. And there are two of these available. And I don't often do anything in terms of discounting off. I mean, no, that's not true. If I'm running a work like an in-person workshop, I do an early booking price. So if people are booking 6 to 9 months in advance, depending on how spaced out they are, but normally about 6 months in advance, then they'll get an early booking price. I think it's only 20%. And then we're about 3 months away, it's 15%. And then the final, 8 weeks is 10%. You're not going to see anything like this. So that's a 3-day photo reading workshop. I've already talked a little bit about it, but the premise of photo reading is, how do you photo read at 25,000 words per minute, get through whole books in 5 minutes, and learn strategies to remember and recall what you've read. So it's about using, and this is where the left and right brain integration comes in. This is about really kind of tapping into you and learning about learning. I mean, it sounds weird, we all know how to learn, but do we really? Most people don't even know what their learning style is. They don't know about the multiple intelligences. Even if they do, they don't know how to utilize those things. So we do all of those things. And I've had people go from struggling to within a couple of days, even a couple of hours, completely transformed. The very first person that I did the one-to-one with, because I wasn't even sure it's possible to do one-to-ones, and I was with them for about an hour and a half. He's now married with children. Oh my God. But he was a teenager when we worked together, got goosebumps. And he had dyslexia and dyspraxia. His older brother had got into a very good school because his brother was academically bright. The person I worked with had dyslexia and dyspraxia, so he got into the same school on a family connection. However, he was booted out of the school because he wasn't making the grades. And can you imagine what that's like as a teenager? So I was doing a talk for one of these MLM companies. I was the keynote speaker, and I just had a slide behind me, much like the one you'll see at the end of this presentation. So I had a slide behind me, and it said photo reading on it. So his mum, who had invited me, she said, "What was that thing? Photo, what is that?" And I said, "Oh, it's accelerated learning." She says, "Do you think you'll be able to help my son?" I says, "Well, I'm happy to have a chat with him." She said, "The only thing, he's very quiet, he's very shy, he's really not in a good place emotionally now, being asked to leave the school, has to go back to a local comprehensive." She says, "Could you come round to the house? Because I don't think he'll be comfortable meeting you in an unfamiliar." So I was like, really? I think I don't really do house calls, but okay. So I go round to the house. We're sitting in the living room, and I'm explaining how to photo read. Step 1, you preview. Step, you get yourself prepared, then you preview, then you photo read. And each step is about, to get yourself physically and mentally prepared. Once you got it, it's about a minute and a half. Your preview is a minute and a half, 90 seconds. To photo read the book takes about 5 minutes. Nowadays, it's a slightly different, it's changed a little bit now, but to do your post view, I allow about 2 to 3 minutes for the post view when I'm in the workshop. And then the activation can be as little as 5 or 10 minutes. So I go through this whole system. I explain everything to him, and I say, let's put it into action with a book, because there's a bookshelf behind us. And he says, oh, those are my dad's books. I says, oh, it doesn't matter, just grab anyone. So he just grabs a random book, and I'm talking him through how to get yourself prepared, and then how to do the preview, how to photo read at 25,000 words. Blah, blah, blah. We do all of this, and then we're just chatting. And about 10-15 minutes into it, I said something, and he says, oh yeah, that was in the book. I was like, what was in the book? What book? And he said, oh, the book we've just been working with. Now, all he'd done is literally flick through it and turn it upside down and do some cool stuff with it. And then he goes straight to the place in the book. And I was like, okay, that's cool. The next day, I get a call from his mum. She says, what have you done to him? I says, what do you mean? She says, he was talking to his sister. And then there's like a silence, and I'm waiting for like the punchline. I'm like, and she says, oh, you don't understand. She says, they're like ships in the night. They don't really talk. They kind of grunt at each other. But she said, I stood on the top of the stairs and I listened. She said, I've never heard him talk like that and not to his sister. But he's saying, well, the first thing you do is you get yourself physically and mentally prepared, and you get into it. Blah, 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 blah. And then when you do your preview, look at the front cover, look at the back cover, look at the contents, and then you're doing it. And she relayed this whole thing to me. And she said, I've never heard him talk like that. And and literally what she was saying is, it sounded like he was teaching photo reading to his sister. Very cool. So I'm like, oh, that's amazing. A few months later, I'm in M&S. Some of you, if you've been to Watford for my workshops, you'll know Marks and Spencer's. I'm in the food hall and I run into her. And she says, Marilyn, I've been meaning to call you. I said, oh, how's everything going? How's her son? She says, she says, he's got a Saturday job. WH Smith has changed names now, but she said he's got a Saturday job in WH Smith. He spiked his hair. He's got a girlfriend, and he got a B in his history exam. Now, history was the one he was really confused about, because when you've got dyslexia and dyspraxia, things are all over the place. It's a muddle. He got a B in his history exam. Now, I can't lay claim to any of that. However, one of the things I do know is when you know that you're not stupid, when someone shows you the strategy that you can use to have the world work for you rather than against you, it brings a level of confidence, whether you're a teenager or someone in your 50s, 60s, 70s. The oldest person that's attended the photo reading was a retired wing commander. We suspect he was in his 80s stroke 90s. He was lovely. And the youngest has been 7. Doesn't matter what age you are. When that sort of thing happens to you, the confidence builds. So the Saturday job, the spiking of the hair, got a girlfriend, that was just so cool. So photo reading, and I've had, I remember I went to do a talk at Royal Bank of Scotland, RBS in London, by Liverpool Street. So I do this keynote presentation. They gave me 40 minutes in the boardroom with a small team. And it was like tested, toe in the water. By the end of it, they came back and said, right, we've got a team, we've got a whole, we've got several females in tech and finance here. Will you come back and do a late afternoon stroke early evening session? Like, absolutely. So there was someone there who then sends me an email after the talk, and she says, you were talking and I think photo reading will help me. I've got an interview. I have not interviewed in 10 years. I've just been in the same job, and this is way above my, my pay grade. And it's a big deal and a big promotion. And I said, yeah, sure. She said, it's at the end of the week. So we're like Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever it was. So we did 1 hour on Zoom. I had no idea what she looked like, because she had her camera off. And I said, well, we've got an hour. I can't teach you. So I taught her like a very compressed version of photo reading. And then I said, this is how you're going to apply it in the interview situation. And this is how you're going to answer these questions. This is how you're going to activate your brain. So she goes and then we do this visualization piece at the end. So we're what I call the Imagineering, bringing it to life, working with the timeline, doing a little bit of future life progression, all that sort of stuff. I get an email from her. She said, I did the interview. She said, Marilyn, it went just like you said it would. And the questions you said they would ask me, they asked me. And the way we planned to answer, I answered. And I'm like, that is so cool. So that whole fear of interviews and all the rest of it, and, came up with the perfect answer, I think, for, the 10-year gap in terms of just being in the same job, never going for a promotion, all of that sort of stuff. she only goes and gets a job, doesn't she? And there was tough competition for that role. So when I say that photo reading goes way beyond reading, I've been saying that since 2002, and I'm probably going to continue to say it until I'm 100 if I live that long. It is freaking mind blowing. And one of the things that people always say when they come along is, if I had known it was this, I would have done it years ago. Or why didn't you tell me it was this? Because if I did, I would have been here. It's amazing. So I'm going to say grab this opportunity with both hands, because this one is an absolute game changer. It's a thing that I used because I was diagnosed with what was thought to be early onset Alzheimer's in my 20s. I struggled for years. Within days of doing the photo reading, it's like my brain woke up, and I haven't looked back since. It is a game changer in ways I cannot begin to tell you. Some of you know Kay Westmoreland, the conscious accountant. She was in a near fatal plane crash, had brain damage, and struggled again for years. Very competent. So she's managed to kind of strategize around it. The very next day after the photo reading, she sends me a message saying, Marilyn, I feel like I'm back. I'm not having to use all the rapid repeat in my head and the mnemonics and the rapid Nate. She says, I feel like I'm back. And then a couple of weeks later, she was with a mutual friend of ours called Nick Haynes, who does the 5 elements. He didn't know anything about what she'd been doing. And in the middle of the conversation, he'd known her for years. He said, Kay, you're back. And then I think we were 3 months into the 6-month mastermind group. She had tea with her mother. And in the middle of that conversation, her mum looked at her and said, Kay, you're back. 2.5 days. She'd been to all of the top specialists in the Queen whatever hospital in London. They said there was nothing they could do for her, just like my GP said there was nothing they could do for me with the early onset Alzheimer's. 2.5 days, sorted. So that again, it's a powerhouse. So if you're watching this on LinkedIn, maybe I'll see if I can upload it tonight, just so we can. So you're going to have until tomorrow evening, around about 8:30 / 9 p.m. So yeah, I better see if I can upload it tonight. So it's only fair, isn't it, to get it up there. But that's the photo reading workshop, and it's the biggest of the bunch. But yeah, that's the photo reading workshop. So a wild card. I can add in one final course. So what I'm going to say, because I know people are going to be watching this on the replay, I'm going to give you some suggestions, shall we say. Choose a final course, and I'll go with the majority. And it can be a set price, as I've done with previous, or we can do like a bid or an auction. You can come up with a price, and I can go, yeah, I like that price, or I don't like that price. So we can have a bit of fun with this one. So this is going to be tiny. It's going to be too tiny even for me. Oh my God. But maybe you can let me just see, where am I going to find this in a hurry? I should have prepped this one in advance, shouldn't I? Let me see. Oh, I know. If I type that in, or because this was from the All Access Pass list, when I put together the lifetime deal. So just going to see if Facebook will work its magic. So All Access Pass, shared by me, and it should bring up. Oh, there we go. Should bring up the page where. Is that the one? Oh, there we go. That's the one. You're the one that I want. Right, there we go. Alrighty, so I've got a bigger view of this. So I'm not going to go through all of them. And some of them you've been introduced to. I've chosen 10 of them for you already. So let's see. This was the blog that I wrote about it a few years ago when I did it. All right, so we have. I'm going to try and pick out a few that we haven't got here. Results Supercharger. That's a cool one. We got the core issue therapy. Oh yeah, the 1 day mind body spirit energy fest. Usual price for that 247. We've got the global soul plus 2 specialists, I think. Yeah. Let's see. The 1 day money breakthrough workshop, that could be one. The usual price is 317. We got the 3-part relationship workshop. We got the 4-part intuition accelerator series. The usual price is 497 for that. Practitioner Insider Secrets, that's one I briefly mentioned. That's a really good one if you're a practitioner, coach, therapist, etc., and you want some of the insider secrets that I've gleaned over the last 20 plus years. That is a brilliant one. So there's a thing about Archetypal Journey, the 90-minute productivity Kickstarter. Yeah, so there's a few. What else have I missed here? Future life progression. Oh yeah, the future life progression. That was a cool one. That's a shorter. That's a 90-minute one. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. So that gives you a little bit of a flavor. And yeah, I mean, this is not an exhaustive list. What was that one that I just flashed past me there? Oh yeah, the oh gosh, what's it called? It's not on this list because it wasn't part of the all access pass. Living the Law of Attraction, the Jack Canfield course. Again, I got the license to run that. So that's one of them that's in the mix as well. So yeah, and it might be something you've seen me run over the years. You're like, what about this one? So just have a little think about what you'd like the wild card to be. You can put it in the comments or you can send me a DM and I'll see what we come up with. Right. Now, this is the testimonial that I'd mentioned from Rachel, just in terms of, okay, I've told you about some of these courses. What can you expect as the outcome? So this was the Fearless Public Speaking, the on-demand video webinar. I'm going to have to lean in slightly. So she says, for those of you who were asking me about my big talk in January and shared my joy that I was so happy with how it had gone, Marilyn Devnish is the awesome lady that enabled me to breathe, think, and talk all at the same time. And now you can do it too. Whether you get nervous in social settings, on social media, speaking in one-to-one settings, small groups, or big stages, these techniques work. I'm tapping into what I learned almost every day now. What's holding you back from sharing your passions or knowledge? That's Rachel CK, educator, natural life coach, awesome mama, and oil lover because she does the doTERRA oils as well. So she took herself through that course. I wasn't there. Of course, I was there on camera, but I wasn't there physically. This one was from the HUNA, so the clearing sessions were very good. I felt I had more energy afterwards. And as I said, even though they're online, people feel energized as a result of that. This one is from someone who'd previously always attended my in-person, so was slightly wary of the online. They've said, absolutely, when I've said, would you recommend this webinar series to others? What was this one? This was a 10-part Raising Your Money Vibration series. They said, absolutely yes. This has been one of the first webinar series that I've attended virtually, but for all but the first session due to time conflicts. Usually I prefer classroom in person, but this has really exceeded my expectations and I have no hesitation in recommending this program. And if you can attend virtually live online, it is very powerful. And there is the bonus of the recordings if you cannot. So as I said, whether you're in person or live, it still packs a punch. What else have we got here? This was from that was another one from the Raising Your Money Vibrations. This is Amana. She says, we really examine our relationship with money, yet if we took the time, we might be amazed at how much it says about our relationships with people. Be bold. Take the first step to improve your relationship with money. You might be pleasantly surprised. I recommend this program. It does more, in capital letters, than what it says on the tin. And that's actually true, I'm going to say, for all of the workshops. They say, oh, that sounds okay. And then people get into them and they're like, oh my God, this is amazing. So this was from the HUNA workshop. Insightful, energetic, exciting, revealing, practical, impactful, value, resourceful, excellent, powerful, deep, unmissable, inspiring, clearing, magical, comprehensive. So HUNA is always a big hit, one of the firm favorites. What we got here, someone is saying, I thought your session fee was expensive. And then 5 days later, they're like, yes, you are psychic and divinely guided. I am blessed. Full stop. End of message. This one was about the genius potential. So thanks, Marilyn. Great way to spend a few hours getting in touch with my genius mind, because you always, my thing, I always said when I became a coach and therapist, I want to leave the spaces and places that I'm in better than when I found them. And so that's always the thing. And the same with the trainings. I want you to leave with more than you came with. Skills, knowledge, abilities, less emotional baggage depending on what it is, but that's for me the thing. So, and often people say it's really fantastic to have time for themselves as well, which is powerful, particularly in the world it's so noisy. These were some of the testimonials from photo reading. Again, we're going to have to lean in slightly. Actually, this is Naomi Tamayama again. When we first met, she said, I've spent less than an hour reading 8 books on a topic, and I have just completed a piece of work from this, and game changer, and it's life changing. So that was about the photo reading. Most people don't get through 8 books in a year, never mind 8 books in 1 hour, and then compiling a piece of work. The one in the middle, I was looking at the as I'm looking at it on the right, the one in the middle, this was an author who'd flown in from Ireland. She said, you have opened up so many possibilities for me and inspired me to expand my life and knowledge. I don't feel as old as I did when I came. Thank you. And then just above that was from an 11-year-old attendee. So I had a family fly in, mother, father, and their 3 children. This was the 11-year-old. She says, thanks, Marilyn. You helped me so much being a better person and feeling better about myself. What a gift to give to yourself or to someone else. So that just gives you a flavor. And this is one, I'll just read you this final one, because this is someone who's a marketing expert. I was like, yes, somebody who's a marketing expert. That's what they do for a living. They eat and breathe it. They will be able to put photo reading into words. Oh no, here we go. She says, I can see your issue with marketing. How to get people to believe all the changes with something seemingly as simple as photo reading. A good dilemma. That was the extent of their advice for me. I did have to laugh, but I love it. So, giving you a flavor of what to expect. We've already seen these 2 as the world first. And one of the things that is very cool, I'm not going to read these, they're even too small for me to lean in. But what they're saying in a nutshell is there was somebody who said they thought about signing up, and then that thought, in terms of, well, if this happens, and then boom, it happened. And then there are other people who sign up, we haven't even started yet, and they're like, Marilyn, I can feel the vibe and the energy of this, because what they didn't know is that I had hoonered I had hoonered the course before it had started, and people pick up on that vibe and things start happening before they've even got underway, which is very, very cool, which is why I've called it the pre-launch. But if you've got time, click on the screen now. If you actually wanted the chance to do something live as well online, I've got a live online workshop that's taking place on the 2nd of May. Starts at 11:30 a.m. UK time. It's a live video webinar. The launch price of that is $47. So that's where we're in real time now. Today is we are 22nd of April at the moment. So that's coming up in May. If you wanted a live experience, and that one is about, releasing the past and resetting, regenerating the future. I've also got a live online coaching group. So what I've done and this one is going to be happening on the 7th of May. So that's a couple of weeks time. What I've done with this one, if you want a taster to see it's right for you before you sign up, then I've set it up that you can do a taster to dip your toe in the water. So the taster is $12. It's £8.88, but that equates to about $12. We start at 6:30 p.m. UK time. So that's 1:30 in the afternoon, USA Eastern time. It's a live video webinar group. It runs for 90 minutes, so an hour and a half. And this is going to be session number 14, because I started running it last year. So yeah, if you want to join us for one of those and see that it is a good fit for you, or we have a chat about, you think, well, it might not be this, but there's something else in your stable, things you do that will be an even better fit, then please feel free to join us on the 7th of May. That's a one-off price. That's not the price moving forwards, but it just gives you a sense of, we used to call it try before you buy. So that's if you wanted the coaching element and the accountability piece and keeping on track. And then there's a new program that I launched yesterday, 21st of April, and it's the Business Clarity Code. So if you wanted to do a deeper dive, then basically we get the 52-page brand accelerator report, the business strategy in a box reading, we get the business name soul plan reading, you've got the archetypal branding overview, and the deep dive one-to-one intensive that we do online via Zoom. I'm not going to say any more about that because I've already done videos about it there. I've done about 5 videos about it so far, plus a little 47-second one that I did today, which I'm very pleased with. Created in iMovie, so easy. So that's happening at the moment. And this is what one of the clients said about it. They were the first person. They just did one of the pillars. There are 4 pillars included in this, well, 5 if you add the one-to-one. What they said is, I wish I'd done this 6 to 8 months ago. We paid a brand consultant. It's either 4,000 or 5,000. So I rounded it down so as not to overstate it because they couldn't remember. But they said I paid a brand consultant £4,000 to do this. Now, my newsletter price, I wanted volunteers. So £60 just to cover off a little bit of my time. I didn't charge them for all the other peripherals. So 4,000 versus £60, just let that land. And she said, and what you've got just guided me through is so comprehensive. It feels as though it's pulling information from various sources and is trained in marketing speak. That, combined with your expertise, Marilyn, is surprisingly good. It's impressive. That's a CEO from London. And what she said also, because that was very good. She was happy with what they did. She said when she compared it with what we did, and the consultant was there for a week, so they're in her physical office for 5 days, looking at processes, interviewing staff, all of that sort of, so very in depth. She said that what they got from the consultant, it was really great, and they had to retrofit it and go back and rewrite things and, put it in to work to put it into their own language. She said what we produced with the report that was a 52, I say 52, it's 52, 58, depending on the competitor analysis, how many websites we analyze, etc. But she said with the report that we produced in 90 minutes, an hour and a half, she said they could use it straight out the gate. It sounded like them. It was in their brand voice. It spoke their language, which is amazing. And that's just one of the pillars. We've got another of the pillars, which is the business strategy in a box. Again, I've explained it extensively in the video, but one of the people who did the beta test from my e-newsletter list about 2 weeks ago, they said, wow, it's clean, it's clear, it gets to the point. What I have received is amazing, and there's so much to action. I can nail it now and move over this hurdle, because there have been things that they had been stuck with, sorted just in that session. And I actually recorded this one as a live video webinar, and the person I was doing this session with, they gave me permission to share it. They hadn't done their hair, so I said, I'm not going to share it, I'll just send you the link. And she went, no, she said, if you want to share it, because I think it will help other people. So I haven't shared it yet, but at some point I will do, just so you can get a sense of how it works and the gist of it, etc. So that's the business in a box strategy. That's all part of the clarity code, and when we launch, it will be 997. So for those of you on my, because this is more about the e-newsletter list, for those of you who are on my e-newsletter list, this landed for you yesterday, and so there are 3 of those places available at 397, because I've not put these are all powerhouse modules in their own right. They are amazing. I've been a Soul Plan reader since November 2013. I have been an archetypal branding coach and consultant since 2005. I've been a management consultant since 2003. So all of these things are tried and tested. I've been reading tarot for since 1998, and I use an element of that when we're doing the business in a box strategy, and also the cards that we use for the business in a box. If you were to buy regular, I don't know, tarot cards, 10, 15, 20 pounds a deck if you're pushing it. The business in a box cards, they start at £109 per deck, and typically they're £125 a deck. The reason they are so expensive is because all of the information contained where they're in is from industry experts. We got things like innovation, copywriting, branding, workshop design, etc. So absolutely amazing, absolutely amazing. So grab that while you can, because once I got and so what I want to see now, I already know they're amazing in their own right. So this now, from the big beta test, is putting the whole thing together as a complete system. So for the first few that I do, I'm going to be, because I'm not actually sure, I'm thinking the deep dive is going to be about 2.5, 3 hours. I could be off. It could be shorter. It could be a bit longer. So the people who are signing up first as the beta testers for this, we're going to be working all of that out. And then also I'm going to do everything during the beta test. But once I've done that, I will then decide, do I want to include all of these things, or do I want to strip some of this back and da da da? So the beta testers are going to be, we're going to be in it together. I already know it's going to be absolutely freaking amazing. And now I'm just refining the times, also thinking about the order and the sequence. I know in my mind what I want to do first. However, I might get into the practicalities of it and realize, actually, you know what? I should do that first. So it's all of that we're going to be working out while we're doing the beta test version. And then once we're ready to launch it, we'll launch at 997, but it's 397 at the moment. But those are there are 3 places available at that price, 397. Right. Okay. So we have come almost to the end. Our time is near and we reach the final curtain. I'm not going to sing. I can't sing, but did it my way. Right. So, so if you know that you fancy, maybe it's some personal transformation, maybe it's the business side of things, maybe it's something in between all of that, then this is your opportunity. I would say grab these while you can. So just to do a very quick recap, I will go through the comments and I'll go through my DMs. I'll be in touch with you via Messenger with your booking links for the course that you have chosen or courses that you've chosen. And once you booked, I will set up your course access link. If it's for someone else as a gift, GIFT, rather than moving gift, if it's for someone else, then with their permission, you're going to need to give me their first name, last name, and their email address, because those are the basic details required for me to set you up into the webinar system so that you have the instant access, on-demand access. And with regards to lifetime is a very interesting statement. Some of you who know other things that I do, I've been a SaaS tester over this, software as a service tester over the years, in the lifetime deal space. And sometimes people are a little bit shifty and they'll do a lifetime deal and then they'll pack up shop about 12 months later, keep all your money, and they'll say, well, you had access. Now, with regards to this, the people who purchased courses back in 2005 have still got access to those courses. I imagine if I live another 50 years just now, the lifetime bit in terms of where they're set up now, that is going to also depend on the lifetime of that organization, the organization that's hosting it. They've been around a long time and they're what you call an enterprise company. So they don't necessarily deal with small businesses. They're more medium to large businesses. I was thinking about the concept of lifetime a couple of years ago when I first got the platform, and I forward paid for a bunch of server space to host my courses. So it's probably the weirdest question they'd got of the day. And I said, if and when I die, as I'm sure I will one day, will people still have access to this material? And they went, yeah. So actually, lifetime access, your lifetime access could actually predate me and go beyond me if you live that long as well. So you really have got lifetime access. So once I said it, but you need your name, you need your first name, last name, email address in order to add you to the system. So that's the way it's going to work. For those of you I haven't met before, just a little bit of a recap. Of course, I'm Marilyn Devnish. Again, this is Tiny. But suffice to say, I've trained in a lot of different modalities. So I did a business studies degree. I did a postgraduate marketing diploma with the Chartered Institute of Marketing. And I was studying to be a chartered accountant. I was very quiet, very shy, lacking in confidence. And so ended up on what I thought was a communication skills course, turned out to be personal development, including hypnosis. And that's where I learned about the HUNA and timeline therapy and NLP. And I'm like, oh, no. Nah, that's not what I signed up for. It was several £1,000s. So I actually tried to get my money back because I said, this isn't what I signed up for. Thank God they did what you call a classic reframe. And they said, come to the training. And if you don't get massive value, we'll give you a refund at the end. I'm like, okay, this is a con now. And it's several £1,000s. You're not keeping that money. I'm coming. And I was really sick at the time. That's when it was all kicking off with the health, with the Alzheimer's. It was just awful. I was just coming out of the baldness. So my hair was about that long. It was just a terrible time. I was covered in black. It was just awful, really horrible. So I do this training. The first one was 7 days. So I go in with face like thunder. There's a tipping point in the middle. I'm like, you know what? They keep talking about playing full out. If I don't at least vaguely play the game, they're not going to give me my money back. They'll find a loophole. So I decided just to jump in with both feet, prove that it was all a load of nonsense, get my money back, I'm out of here. The rest, as I say, is history. I loved it so much that 3 weeks later, I went back and did the master practitioner for 14 days. And then everything took off from there. So not only did I become a practitioner in NLP, hypnosis, and timeline therapy, I also became a master practitioner and trainer in NLP, hypnosis, and timeline therapy. I went out to Hawaii to study Huna because the results were so mind blowing. To this day, it still gives me goosebumps to think about the incredible things that have happened, not just with me with Huna, but with my clients as well. And then over the years, I've trained in about 20 different modalities. So I went out to Minneapolis to study with Dr. Paul Shealy, to become a photo reading instructor in March 2002. And then things like past life regression, future life progression with Anne Jersh, EFT, DNA theta healing, emo trance, the archetypal profiling, archetypal branding, you name it is probably in there now on that list. And as I was also a management consultant, specializes in central and local government. So it's been quite a wide and varied career. The very first book, and it's a physical book, it's on the shelf up there, it's not an ebook. People say, have you got the ebook? I'm like, no, it's a physical book. And this would have been around about, I think, 2007, something like that, before it was all the rage. So the book was co-authored by Dr. Paul Shealy, the creator of photo reading, Anthony Robbins, Tony Robbins. I'm sure many of you have heard of him if you're in personal development. The late Dr. Wayne Dyer, myself, Marilyn Devonish, Chun-Yi Lin, the creator of Spring Forest Qigong, and business guru Brian Tracy. It's called Stories of Transformation, because for me, since getting into this line of work, transformation has been what it's all about. I've been writing for newspapers and magazines since 2003. Started off writing about emotional health and well-being. I had a problem page. I was an agony aunt for about 6 years with a magazine called Spirit and Destiny magazine. So every single month I'd get a letter, I'd read the letters, and I'd write a response in 500 words or less. That is incredibly challenging. That's where the photo reading comes in. And then in the final years, what actually used to happen is I would do a session with the reader, and then the reader would write about the session and the outcome. So that was really great fun to do. And my very first writing assignments were with a magazine, another one that doesn't exist anymore, called Here's Health. So I was one of the experts for Here's Health on the expert panel. That's that little tiny, if you see me on the screen and then there's like 3 columns, it's so small, you're never going to read it, but that's all of us, Gillian McKeith was one of the experts, for example. And then that's where I had a relationship column and where I really first started writing. So I have very good memories of Here's Health magazine. It was wonderful. I also write for business publications, so things like The Times, Forbes, Guardian, Huffington Post, People Management, Chartered Management Institute, you name it, probably done it, TV, radio, etc., writing across a number of different subjects: leadership development, diversity, mental health, even things like Tower in Business, workplace bullying, flexible work. And I've been a specialist remote working consultant since 2003. And I also design and deliver corporate workshops. It says 50 plus, there's probably several hundreds of them now. Sometimes they're a bit more off the shelf, so people want communication skills, emotional intelligence, critical thinking, decision making, etc., mindfulness, meditation, managing teams, resilience, you name it, probably done it, managing projects, finance for non-financial managers. You name it, probably done it, designed it, delivered it. And that's why I love workshops so much, which is why I have so many workshops. And I wasn't born this way, or was I? I always say to people, I don't feel like I did a Lady Gaga. I didn't come out like, oh yeah, life is great. I was very quiet, very shy, lacking in confidence, very low self-esteem, suicidal. I contemplated suicide in September 2000. There was all the early onset Alzheimer's stuff, and I was like that until the age of 32. And I don't know about you, but you get to a certain age and you think, this is it. This is what my life is like. This is what it's destined to be, hence the suicidal thoughts. And everything changed pretty much in an instant. And that's why I'm so passionate about personal development, about the power of training, the power of coaching, the power of therapy, the power of mentoring. And sometimes it's not even the big stuff. It's just one line, one little thing someone says, one technique, one process. And one of the things for me is about the power of workshops, training, development, etc., is you don't have to do all the heavy lifting because someone has disseminated all of the data and brought it to you without you having to go and dig around for it, saving you potentially years worth. And even if you're saying, look, ChatGPT can, yeah, sure, it can spew a lot of data at you, but you still got to make sense of that data. And one of the wonderful things about training and therapy and all that sort of stuff is it's disseminated for you. And particularly when it's experiential, you get to experience the benefits of all of that. So, that in a nutshell is how this came to be. So, if you are ready to next level your future in some way, shape, or form, I'm going to say the time is now. So, you know, it's a deal that keeps on giving, because one of the things I love about on demand and having lifetime access is you can go and dip in whenever you want to, whenever you need to. You can rewatch something, you can go back to a particular segment, you can. And actually, no, you're right. Actually, let me do that. Actually, Sharice, you're absolutely right. It is so important. I cannot begin to tell you. So for me, and thank you so much, Sharice, for joining me today. It's been amazing having you here. So yeah, I'm going to say the time is now. And what I also know to be true, particularly thinking about how I got into personal development, it doesn't often feel like the right time. And it sounds so cliche when someone says, well, if you're here in this time and in this space and in this moment, then you're, and I'm like, yeah. That was literally me. And then it was true. I was like, oh my God. But I was dragged in kicking and screaming. Nowadays, I'm meeting people who are actually open for it, up for it, and they actually want to change and they actually want to transform. So yeah, if you've got any questions, if you've got any queries, let me know in the next 24 hours. And I will, I mean, you can ask questions outside of that. Of course, it just won't be about this deal. But if you want to ask questions about any of the trainings, anything you're not sure about, the format, but just to say for people who are coming in later, they are video webinar workshops. They were filmed with they used to say they were filmed with a live studio audience. That's how all the programs used to start here in the UK. So there were people in the audience. They're not on camera. I don't have, when I'm running these sorts of workshops, because I know that they are for resale and they're for rewatching. Well, people can come on camera, but I always start by saying, please be aware that if you come on camera, you'll be part of the recording, yada yada yada. So most people are in the chat or they're in the private Q&A, because that's how they're always set up. And also I give people the opportunity to enter the live webinars with a nickname, so even I don't know who it is. And they also have the option to send me private questions anonymously, so I can answer your questions. I don't know who you are, so you don't have to reveal or divulge anything to me. But what the benefit of that is you get to hear their questions, you get to hear their conversations, you get to hear the questions that they have. And oftentimes when you're watching the replay, those are the exact same questions you have. But if there's anything I haven't covered clearly, let me know. Now, keep in touch, of course. Now, in terms of easiest place to find me, Facebook is where I spend most of my time when I'm on social media. So on the socials, it's Marilyn Devonish, Marilyn Dev for Victor Onish. The only place that's different is Instagram. It's the Neuro Success Coach. But if you do type Marilyn Devonish in, that will come up. You can ping me an email, marilyn@transformationstm.com. That's TRANCE, F for Freddie, FORMATIONS. DM as in trademark. It's a play on words. I'm a hypnotherapist as well. So marilyn@transformationstm.com. Keep in touch. But I will be in touch. And with all of these courses, regardless of the topic, whether it's a business related topic, whether it's personal development, whether it's esoteric, they are all designed to have that wonderful ripple effect. Because that was for me when I first started. The business card I have now, of course, it's changed shape and it's much more. It was much better quality. It's now matte. It's now that what you call satin finish, and the dot on the business card is a raised dot, so it catches the light and it actually looks like a water drop. But I came up with that idea at the end of the year 2000, and then I was at a meeting called a Winter meeting. And there was someone there, and the Winter members were allowed to stand up and do a little 2-minute pitch about their business. And one of the people stood up and she said that she's a web designer. And I thought, I wonder if she knows a printer. So I go up to her and I said, look, I've had this idea. I had this intuitive flash in my head and I saw the logo that I wanted and it was a water drop. And she took a sort of a deep breath and I was like, okay. She said, number one, we can do printing as well. We do brochures, leaflets, letterheads. She said, I've got a logo. We're just retiring it. Do you want it? And she pulls out her business card and it had a pinkish color water drop. Now it was longer and thinner than my card. And then I took a step back. I was like, oh my God. And I said, that's almost what I saw. But literally she had I probably still got it in the folder behind me. Her name's Julia from ISBS. and they still do websites, etc. But yeah, she had a business card with a water drop and they were changing their logo. So what she did, she just adapted it to how I described it. And that has been my business card ever since. So it's purple on one side, colors of hypnosis, because back then, what I did for the first 9 years that I was in practice in terms of therapeutic work, I just did 1 day breakthrough sessions. So you come in at 10 o'clock in the morning, you leave at 5 or 6 o'clock, your life is completely changed and transformed. Adios, have a nice life. Did that for 9 years. Bang, bang, bang. Amazing. And what I saw with the breakthrough sessions was that 1 day would be a catalyst for the rest of someone's life. And those changes would keep on rippling out throughout their entire life, just that 1 day. And then one day I get an email from someone. And he says, "Hi, Marilyn, it's such and such here. I did a breakthrough session with you. I'm in this corporation. One of my colleagues who's looking for an executive coach. Is that still something you do?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely." And I'm looking at his name and I'm thinking, it's been about 10 years since I've spoken to this person. So I look in my database. Sure enough, he'd done a 1 day breakthrough session 10 years prior. And then he says in the email, "Oh, meant to get in touch and tell you the changes and benefits from that breakthrough session," wait for it, "are still rippling throughout my entire life." And I read that. I was like, yes, yes, that is what I saw when I first got started in the year 2000, that catalytic effect. So I bring all of that to my workshops. And that is also the intention that I infuse into the workshops that they keep on giving. And I know that to be true because year in, year out, I spoke to someone a few months ago. They volunteered. No, actually, did they volunteer? What were we doing? No, yeah. It wasn't a free volunteering thing, but it was again, a nominal, because I'm testing out, and I was testing out another aspect of this. And we go through the thing. And she says at the end, she says, "While you were talking, Marilyn, I've just realized that the one thing I've done," because she changes jobs often, changes partners often, moves around a lot. She said, "I've just realized the one thing that I've done consistently in my life for the past 10 years is what you," and actually it was the magic and she said, "The thing you taught me in the magic and gratitude program," she says, "that's been the only the only good constant in my life." Not saying she didn't have great jobs, but she would get itchy feet. But she said, she said, "I hadn't noticed until we were actually having this conversation." So it's that magic 10 again. Honestly, I can't begin to tell you how powerful this stuff is. And I guess for me, one of my missions on this world is to help people to have some of the experiences I've had, but their own version of that, where you go through. Not everybody's at rock bottom. Touch wood, thank God, I hope you're not. But even if you are, that things can change, things can transform, hence the transformation. So yeah, that's it. So the countdown timer is on. I couldn't get one that says 24, but we've got 20. For those of you who are now watching this on LinkedIn, once it's up, you've got 24 hours to respond to this, because as I said, the platform that I'm using, it just would not let me schedule to LinkedIn. It let me do Facebook and it let me do YouTube, but not LinkedIn. So thank you. And if you know someone who could benefit from this, let me know. Who do you know who would be a good fit for one or some of these workshops? Please feel free to send this link to them, give them the information. Feel free to give them my details. I would absolutely love to have a chat if there is someone out there where I could help them move the needle, because in the world, we are living in some crazy times at the moment. And so if you're ready to step into that magical vortex and experience life in a completely different way, for me, I say that to go from, because I contemplated suicide in September 2000, and I did the personal development training in October 2000. And then the following year, I became a Samaritans volunteer. Why? Because in that September, I'd phoned the Samaritans. I was literally on my knees and planning how to do it. The following year, I became a Samaritans volunteer. And I knew that I was sorted. Number one, I knew that I was sorted by December 2000. I was like, cool, great, let's go. It's game on. However, if I'd been deluding myself, I would not have made it to day 3 of that Samaritans training. And the Samaritans training was several weeks. Oh my God. It was deep. And when I arrived, the majority of the people were more mature than me. And I mean by several decades. And I'm listening to what they do and how they speak and the experience that they've had and the things that they've done. And I'm like, holy crap, I'm not going to make it. What am I doing here? I'm like, what was I? I was 33 years old and sort of wet behind the ears, if you want to put it that way. And had been suicidal just the year before. And what happened in that training is the majority of people I started with did not finish. Some of them said they just stepped away themselves, and many of them were told by the Samaritans they couldn't proceed. Why? Because certain subjects would come up and it would trigger them, and they would have their natural human response, which was to cry, which was to go into a tailspin, which was to then become, how can I say, become the caller as opposed to the person holding the space. None of that happened to me, not because I'm not human, not because I don't have empathy. I have that in spades. It was because my stuff was healed. And when I say my stuff, because people actually look at me and go, well, what do you know about? And that's why I share that little slide about what it was like. What it doesn't say on the slide, people used to go, oh, you should issue a trigger warning. I'm like, I'm not saying it in a way that's like, oh my God, oh, woe is me. But I was sexually abused from the age of 7 to 17. And the reason I could say that is easy. I can say, do you want a cup of tea? It's not that I'm not saying it's not serious. It's not saying that I don't take it seriously. It's not saying that it's not an impactful thing. What I'm saying is, because I had resolved that and all of the other awful stuff that had happened in my life, when I did the Samaritans training, there were no buttons to press because I'm like, I'm good. I am in the place where I can hold the space for other people. So even if you're watching this and you've got that yeah, but in your head, oh yeah, but you have no idea. It's not a contest. I was going to say the word in the UK. We say it's a peeing contest. I'm not going to say it out loud because it'd probably just get my video banned after all of this time that I've put into it. But I always say to people, don't try and take me on, because whatever you come with, I can probably counter you. It's not a contest. All I'm saying is that when life has been tough, it is possible to transform. If you think you've hit a plateau, it is possible to have that breakthrough. And if you're all good and you want to next level your skills, that is possible too. Coming back to the limitless side of things, the genius potential side of things, it's all to play for. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for those of you, I'm talking now into the future, that share this. That would be absolutely awesome. I shall leave it there. It's session close, and I'm just wishing you all a brilliant month, year, and life ahead. And as I said, any questions, any queries, put them in the chat, or you can DM me. I would love, love, love to hear from you. And if there is something I can help you with in the future, or if you're looking for a corporate trainer, particularly one that works online and is skilled at doing that and can hold an audience for 21 hours if need be, then please also send them in my direction as well. But thank you so much, and wonderful to see you, Charisse, here live. And happy training, happy transformation, and I will talk to you all very, very soon. Marilyn Devenish, the Neuro Success Coach, Rapid Transformation Specialist, and Futurist from transformationstm.com. Over and out. I will catch you all later. Bye-bye.